Are you kidding me right now? What we just witnessed on Monday Night Raw wasn't just an attack, it was a straight-up declaration of war that's going to change everything we thought we knew about WWE's power structure. And if you think Triple H didn't orchestrate this entire thing to send shockwaves through the wrestling world, then you haven't been paying attention to how this man operates behind the scenes. Let me paint you the picture of what really went down, because what you saw on your TV screen was just the surface level of a much deeper conspiracy that's been brewing in WWE's locker room for months. There's Brock Lesnar, the Beast Incarnate, standing in that ring like he owns the place, which, let's be honest, he basically does. The man who's terrorized superstars for over 2 decades, the legitimate tough guy who could probably take out half the roster with his bare hands, looking as invincible as ever. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Out of nowhere, and I mean literally out of nowhere, Bronson Reed comes charging down that ramp like a freight train possessed by pure rage. This 330-pound monster from Australia didn't just run to the ring, he bulldozed his way there with the kind of intensity that makes grown men question their life choices. And the look in his eyes? Brother, that wasn't just anger, that was years of frustration and being overlooked finally exploding into pure, unfiltered violence. But wait, it gets worse. Because apparently one monster wasn't enough to take down the beast. As Reed is absolutely demolishing Lesnar with those devastating right hands that sound like gunshots echoing through the arena, here comes Bron Breakker sliding into the ring like a predator who's been stalking his prey for months. Now let me ask you something, and this is where it gets really suspicious. When have you ever seen two powerhouses like Reed and Breakker work together? These guys are natural rivals, alpha males who should be trying to destroy each other, not forming some unholy alliance. But there they were, coordinating their attack like they'd been planning this for weeks. Breakker immediately starts targeting Lesnar's legs while Reed continues his relentless assault on the upper body. This wasn't some spontaneous beatdown, this was a calculated execution designed to neutralize the most dangerous man in WWE. They were working with surgical precision, like they had studied every single one of Lesnar's matches and identified his exact weak points. And here's what's making my blood boil: where was security? Where were the referees? Where was anybody to stop this absolute carnage? It took almost 5 full minutes before any officials even attempted to separate these animals from their prey. 5 minutes of pure, uninterrupted brutality that left Brock Lesnar, looking more vulnerable than we've seen him since his UFC days. But the most shocking moment came when Reed grabbed Lesnar and hit him with a thunderous tsunami that nearly broke the ring in half. The sound of that impact was so violent, so bone-crushing, that fans in the front row actually flinched. And while Lesnar was down and possibly unconscious, Breakker wasn't done. Oh no, he was just getting started. Bron grabbed the microphone, and what he said next is going to haunt the WWE universe for months to come. He looked directly into the camera, sweat and rage dripping from his face, and declared, "This is our time now. The old guard is finished." Then he dropped that microphone right on Lesnar's chest like he was placing a tombstone on a grave. Now here's where conspiracy theory meets cold hard reality, and this is going to make you furious when you realize what's actually happening behind the scenes. Triple H has been systematically building these two monsters for months, feeding them smaller opponents, letting them build momentum and credibility, all while Lesnar has been coasting on part-time appearances and special attraction status. Think about it, when was the last time you saw Reed get a legitimate push? When was the last time Breakker was positioned as a genuine main event threat? Suddenly, out of nowhere, they're both getting featured prominently on Monday Night Raw, they're both being booked to look absolutely dominant, and then coincidentally they both happen to target Lesnar on the same night. This reeks of creative manipulation at the highest level. Triple H wanted to create a moment that would instantly elevate both Reed and Breakker to main event status, and what better way to do that than to have them systematically dismantle the most legitimate tough guy in the company. It's genius. But it's also absolutely infuriating for anyone who respects what Lesnar has accomplished in this business. But here's the part that's going to make you want to throw your remote at the TV: the disrespect shown to a man who's been the cornerstone of WWE for over 20 years. Brock Lesnar didn't deserve to be ambushed by two guys who haven't even been in the main event scene for a full year. This is a man who's conquered UFC, who's headlined multiple WrestleManias, who's carried this company through some of its most challenging periods. And yet there he was, lying motionless in the middle of that ring while Reed and Breakker stood over him like conquering heroes. The symbolism was unmistakable, the old generation being literally trampled by the new. But was it earned? Did these two monsters actually earn the right to destroy a legend, or were they simply handed this moment by management? Let's talk about what this means for the immediate future, because the ramifications of this attack are going to ripple through WWE programming for months. First off, you can absolutely guarantee that Lesnar is going to want blood. This man doesn't forgive, he doesn't forget, and he certainly doesn't let anyone make him look weak without facing severe consequences. But here's the terrifying reality: what if he can't get his revenge? What if Reed and Breaker have actually figured out the formula for defeating the Beast? What if this wasn't just a fluke attack, but a blueprint for how to neutralize the most dangerous predator in WWE? The psychological damage alone might be irreversible. For years, superstars have stepped into the ring with Lesnar already mentally defeated, intimidated by his reputation and his legitimate toughness. But now every wrestler on that roster saw him get absolutely demolished by two guys who aren't even considered top-tier main eventers yet. And don't even get me started on how this affects the entire landscape of Monday Night Raw. Suddenly, Reed and Breaker aren't just mid-card players hoping for an opportunity, they're legitimate threats who just proved they can take down anybody. Every championship holder, every main eventer, every so-called top guy just got put on notice in the most violent way possible. But the most frustrating part of this entire situation is how it exposes the political games being played backstage. You think it's a coincidence that two of Triple H's pet projects just happened to coordinate the most impactful attack in recent WWE history. You think Paul Levesque wasn't in that gorilla position watching every second of this beatdown with a smile on his face. This is what happens when creative control gets concentrated in the hands of someone who has his own agenda for reshaping the company. Triple H has been systematically dismantling everything that represented the previous era of WWE, and Lesnar just became the most high-profile casualty of that campaign. What's even more infuriating is how this completely undermines the credibility that Lesnar has built over decades of legitimate toughness. This is a man who's faced the most dangerous fighters in the world inside the octagon, who's proven his toughness in real combat situations, and now he's being made to look vulnerable by two guys who've never faced that level of competition. The message being sent is clear: your legitimate credentials don't matter anymore. Your real-world toughness is irrelevant. All that matters is who management decides to push and how they choose to book these so-called dream scenarios. But here's what's really going to make you angry: the fans are eating this up. They're cheering for the destruction of a man who's given everything to this business, who's put his body on the line countless times, who's drawn more money than Reed and Breaker combined will probably ever generate. The disrespect is absolutely staggering. And mark my words, this is just the beginning. Reed and Breaker have tasted blood now, they've experienced what it feels like to stand over a fallen legend, and they're going to want more. Every established star should be looking over their shoulder, because if they can do this to Brock Lesnar, they can do it to anyone. The most terrifying question isn't whether Lesnar can recover from this attack, it's whether WWE as we know it can survive this complete upheaval of its established hierarchy. When legends can be casually destroyed by relative newcomers, when decades of credibility can be wiped out in 5 minutes of scripted violence, what does that say about the value of legacy in this business? This attack wasn't just against Brock Lesnar, it was against everything he represents. It was against the idea that you have to earn your spot at the top, that you have to prove yourself against the best competition, that respect is something that's built over years of consistent excellence. Instead, we're being told that all you need is the right political connections backstage and a willingness to participate in whatever narrative serves the current creative regime. It's absolutely disgusting, and every fan who cares about the integrity of this business should be furious about what just transpired. But the most enraging part of all this is that it's probably going to work. Casual fans are going to tune in next week hoping to see more violence, more chaos, more destruction of everything they once held sacred in this business. They don't care about respect, they don't care about legacy, they just want to see their Monday Night Raw turned into some kind of barbaric spectacle. So here's my challenge to everyone watching this: don't let them get away with this character assassination. Don't let them convince you that this kind of disrespectful booking is somehow good for business. Brock Lesnar deserves better, the wrestling business deserves better, and frankly, we as fans deserve better than this transparent attempt to manufacture controversy at the expense of legitimate legends. The war for WWE's soul has officially begun, and what happened to Brock Lesnar was just the opening battle. The question now is whether we're going to stand by and watch everything we love about this business get systematically destroyed, or whether we're going to demand better from the people who are supposed to be its guardians. What do you think? Was this attack justified, or have Reed and Breaker crossed a line that should never be crossed? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure you share this video because everyone needs to see what's really happening behind the scenes in WWE right now.